Hey guys, so today we're doing a lesson on heat transfer, which goes along with what I posted yesterday. But before we get started, I have a couple of announcements. So, first I need you to make sure that you take your panorama survey. I have posted it on Google Classroom and I posted it on ClassDojo. Whenever you click that link that I posted, the access code is your lunch number. If you need somebody to read it out loud to you, let me know and I can call you and read it out loud to you. Second, if you have any missing work, make sure you get that completed because that is how I'm going to give you feedback to how you're doing on these standards. If you're passing, you're going to get good feedback, but if you're failing, we're going to figure out a way to make that better. Alright. So I'm going to get started. Yesterday you had a video where two kids were teaching you about heat transfer. There we go. Alright, first I want you to look at this boiling pot of water. So it's on a stove top. Someone's grabbing the metal handle without a mitt, and then there's boiling water with something in it on that stove. So we're going to go over or review those three types of heat transfer that you were taught yesterday, and then at the end we're going to come back to this picture and I want you to try to be able to identify the three types on this picture. Alright, first we're going to go over conduction. So conduction is the most common form of heat transfer, and it occurs whenever you make physical contact with something hot. I have some examples on the next slide that you'll be able to see. So whenever two different objects that have different temperatures are placed in contact with each other, that's whenever conduction happens, and the heat energy is moved to make the cooler object warmer, and it happens until both objects are the same temperature. So some good examples are grabbing the handle of a hot pan, whenever you're ironing clothes, and walking barefoot on concrete. So in the summer, if you walk barefoot on concrete, your feet start to burn. That's because of the conduction. That's the type of heat energy transfer that's taking place. So whenever, let's say, this is your concrete and this is your foot, whenever they touch, the conduction is going to take place, and the heat from the concrete is going to transfer to your feet until your foot is the same temperature as the concrete. But you're not going to be able to take it for that long. Your feet are going to start to blister. Alright, convection. This occurs when a fluid physically moves into an area of different temperature and then heats this area up or cools it down. So an example is a vent blowing air into a room to heat it up or cool it down. So you can see the picture right here. The vent is blowing that cool air, and it's a really hot day outside. Another example is this popcorn popper. In the back there will be like a vent, and it's going to bring air in, and then that popcorn popper is going to heat it up and make the popcorn kernels pop. So it's also kind of like an air fryer. If any of you have an air fryer at home, in the back you see that there are vents that bring in air, and it uses that to heat up the food in the air fryer. The last one is radiation. So this occurs when heat energy is gained or lost by way of electromagnetic radiation. So that's a lot of complicated words. So just kind of think about it. The sun there's radiation coming off the sun, and it's heating the earth whenever the earth is cool. Also, if you think about a sun going behind a cloud, the radiation is blocked, and the sun is not able to heat the earth as much because that radiation is blocked by the cloud. Also, a microwave uses radiation, so whenever you turn on the microwave, electromagnetic radiation heats up your food in the microwave in that enclosed space. So a lot of people don't like using microwaves because of the radiation, so they think it's harmful to their body. I'm gonna go back to this pot. Alright, so we have the three examples of heat transfer. One of them is conduction, whenever it transfers through physical contact. Convection is whenever fluid moves to heat up the area. Let me go. Fluid physically moves into an area, different temperature, and heats up the area, cools it down. And then radiation is whenever radiomagnetic waves are put off and heat something up. So, one of the examples is already on the PowerPoint. I want you to think about that. Which example would be this burner? If you're thinking radiation, you are right, because I'm going back to radiation. The electromagnetic radiation is put off by that burner, and it's heating up that pot. Look at this fluid with whatever it's cooking on the inside of that pot. If you're thinking convection, you're right, because convection occurs when a fluid physically moves into an area of different temperature and then heats this area up, cools it down. So whatever that was in, or whatever is in the pot with that water is so hot, it's boiling, that it's moving the heat to that item of whatever it is to help it cook. So an example would be rice. If you put rice in boiling water, the heat from the boiling water is going to move to the rice to help it heat up and cook. And then lastly, this hand. That was the example that was already in the PowerPoint, so that should be pretty easy. If you're thinking conduction, you're right. That hot handle is metal, which he doesn't have a oven mitt on, so whenever he touches that and that burner's hot and the water in there is hot, which is probably going to make this metal handle hot, whenever he touches his hand, that handle's going to be really hot and it may burn him. That's because of the conduction, it's physical contact. His hand is touching that handle, and it's going to try to make his hand the same temperature as that handle, which he's not going to be able to handle it because it's going to be so hot. I have a challenge for you now that we've gone over this. If you can do it. If you don't have popcorn, it's okay. Don't worry about it. But I do want you to think about it if you don't have it. I want you to try popping some popcorn. So think about the different ways you can pop popcorn. You can take a bag and heat it up in the microwave. Some people have the kernels that you can put in the bottom of a pan and with oil and heat it up. Or some of you may have a popcorn popper like we have at the school, where you put the popcorn kernels in the pot, in the popper, and then you the fans move it around and heat it up, and then you dump it out. If you don't have any popcorn or have a way to pop it, don't worry about it. Just try to think about it. Between those three ways, what are the ways heat is transferred? So if you popped popcorn in the microwave, what type of heat energy transfer was used to pop that popcorn? If you did it in a pan, which way was it? Would it be convection, radiation, or conduction? Once you do that, you can send me a message and let me know. I want to know how that goes for you, and I will try to post a way of me popping popcorn and you guys guess it too.